Hello, I am Gerardo Avellaneda Santana, a first-generation college student at Colorado State University here in Fort Collins. In this edition of Community Voices, we'll hear from Alan Munoz. Alan is from a family of first-generation Americans working hard to create better life here in Colorado. We'll learn how education helped create new career pathways for Alan. We'll also see how his passion to give back to his community is bringing Alan right back home again.
Pues mi nombre es Luis Fernando Muñoz Salazar. Más bien todo empezó en la forma cuando nació Alan, que queríamos un futuro mejor.
I was born in a small town in Mexico, Calvillo, Aguascalientes, and I came to the United States when I was 3 years old. My dad had a couple cousins that had already established a little bit of their lives, so it was easier for him to start his life with his family here.
Fue muy difícil en un principio, pero conforme fueron pasando los años o el tiempo, nos vamos acostumbrando a las diferentes personas, a las diferentes actividades que hay, porque es muy diferente en muchas cosas a nuestro país aquí.
It's important that we allow first generation students to tell their story. And in that, we'll find that there's a uniqueness, that there's a certain path in which has prepared them to be very successful and to thrive here at CSU. We might also find that as they tell their story, there's some common threads amongst them that tells us about who we are as an institution, who we are as a country, who we are across our communities. And so it helps us as an institution ask even better questions when we learn and listen to those that are first generation.
A lot of my family works in a roofing company. Then I also have family members who are house cleaners. It's the type of work where they're up before they start working before the sun gets up and stop working after the sun goes down.
Yo la primera vez que llegué aquí batallé mucho, más duro para mí porque salía a las 3 de la mañana de mi casa y trabajaba 6, 7 horas cuando caía nieve, quitando la nieve. De ahí regresaba al restaurante de hacer hamburguesas y salía a las 10 de la noche. Pues de ahí mi trabajo que tengo ahorita, que estoy cerca de 15, tal vez 15, 16 años trabajando para esa misma persona.
My dad firsthand knows the physical pain or the physical labor, physical intensiveness of being a construction worker, and he didn't want that for his son. So that was his big motivator, telling me that he didn't want to see me waking up at 4 or 5 in the morning, working a 10-hour day, then coming home, going to sleep, and doing the same thing the next day. That's what he didn't want for me. He wanted to make sure that I picked a job to where they hired me because of my skills, my abilities, the stuff that I knew, my knowledge, and not because of the work that I could do with my physical body.
The fact is, for people coming from immigrant backgrounds, people coming out of refugee experiences, those parents still understand that higher ed is one of the most reliable levers to get out from low income, unskilled or semi-skilled occupations into middle income jobs where you have a heated office during the winter and an air-conditioned office during the summer, where you get paid for what you can provide in terms of your mind and your background rather than just the physical labor that you can provide with your hands.
So I knew that I needed to go somewhere bigger, somewhere where I could get different perspectives, learn new things, and really just open my mind to a lot of new things about the world that I can't learn here. CMC provided me the ability to get my associates with 2 years, and from here I made great connections that allowed me to go to CSU. So CSU for me was a no-doubter, a no-brainer. That was the place that I wanted to go.
In thinking about the importance of higher education for first-generation students, it really represents an opportunity to break cycles, either cycles of generational poverty or exclusion from being able to have the kind of life and career that you desire to have, because choices become limited when you don't have those credentials or those experiences or even access to the networks of resources that really make those things possible.
I was introduced to a group, a grassroots organization called AHUA, which is the Asociación de Jóvenes Unidos en Acción, and it was an advocacy group. They advocated for immigrant rights and social justice. So once I was introduced to that group, I knew that was something that I wanted to do, because that group allowed for me to be the person that I didn't have growing up, be the person that people can count on and rely on or can go to with questions and be able to answer them with proper resources or just someone to listen to, you know? Because I get a sense of fulfillment being in situations like those, because I know that I'm probably planting a seed or sparking something up in someone else who's hopefully going to be able to do something similar later on.
And that kind of sense of purpose is amazing. And so often I see it leading to folks really latching on to careers or paths that serve, that help, that give back, that engage with community.
So what I do as a community organizer is I wear a lot of different hats, but it revolves around helping working class immigrants and low income immigrants, or just low income communities in general. So I want to make sure that I'm there for students of color, for Latino males, for first generation students, for low income students. I want to be that person that they can rely on.
First generation students represent solution to problems that we're currently facing. And they also represent a lot of understanding and innovation that we don't yet have and haven't cultivated. So I also think that it's imperative not only for the communities that our students are coming from, the ones that they'll be going to after they come here, and at least for the improvement of our nation as a whole. First generation students are a key to that success.
Yo pienso que él tal vez ahorita no se mira mucho en el cambio que puede aportar a la comunidad, pero va a llegar el momento en que él sigue trabajando y todo, él va a ser una pieza clave para la comunidad.
Toda persona que me dice tiene un muy buen hijo, felicidades, siempre me dicen es bueno. Entonces para mí es un muy grande orgullo ver que se ha esforzado tanto, porque también ha tenido muchas limitaciones, pero él con su esfuerzo que ha hecho siempre llegó hasta donde está. Y pienso que puede llegar todavía mucho más arriba todavía.
Everybody has an educational story. But it doesn't matter what your educational journey was, if you made it to college or didn't, if you went to a trade school. Talk to a student that's in your life. If you know a young person, ask them, what are you going to do after high school? What are you thinking about? Is there anything that I could do to help? Want to hear a story? That is valuable. You don't have to have a degree, you don't need to be a post-secondary education counselor, but invest the kind of care that lets somebody know that thinking about and articulating their next steps, even if they're uncertain or unsure, is absolutely supported and necessary.
I think we will hear stories of perseverance. We'll hear stories of resilience. We will hear stories of grit. But we'll hear stories of overcoming obstacles and challenges. We will hear stories of those that have been very strategic and methodical, that have been very passionate. I think you'll hear stories that affirm who we are as an institution, but we'll also hear stories that will help us ask better questions of who we want to be. And I think that's the value of our first generation students on our campus.